Hello everybody, welcome to another Phoenix 6-1's shenanigans video. Actually not really, so we're mixing things up today, and we are fixing the bumpers on our Elite Series 2 controller, right? So, this is, first step is just take all the magnetic stuff off, right? Thumbsticks, D-pad, blah, blah, blah. And then this is the hardest part and you'll see me struggle here. This is the hardest part, is getting the initial cover off, right? So there's, I don't know, like 6 or 8 clips or so that are just holding this together. And it even looks like, especially around the grips, it doesn't even look like it would come apart, but it does. So I grabbed a, precision screwdriver set here, and I was able to kind of get in there. But like, I think I like a decent pocket knife, or there's probably a better tool out, right? Something that is sturdy that you can get in here. Basically, you just need to do some prying to get the first initial like clip off, right? So once you get the first one, it's kind of a little bit smoother sailing there. You just have to be a little bit careful not to bend the plastic too much, because it breaks eventually, right? So once you start getting the clips off, you can almost do most of it, the rest of it with your hands. Just be careful with how much you bend it, right? Because you could crack it. And I mean, it's really not that big of a deal. It's mostly cosmetic at that point if you do put a crack in your, the top cover of your controller, but it is what it is, right? So I do think if you're a heavy gamer like myself, this is like the one rare scenario where I have had, I have bought the like extended replacement warranties. Like some places offer like a 2-year, right? And then, if you play as much as I do, you're going to run into something not working perfectly. And then you just take it in and be like, yeah, this button doesn't work right anymore, right? And then they just give you a new one, right? So and then if you're, occasionally I've gone through a couple of them. I think Microsoft still has a 1-year. So if you register your product on your account, and then you, when you have a problem, you can mail it in and they'll send you a refurbished one, or, whatever their process is. I've done that, like, I think at least twice now. So, but this one I didn't, buy an extended warranty for, and it's over the 1 year. And so I was like, you know what, let's see if we can fix it on our own and get a little bit more life out of it. And so, yeah. So yeah, once you finally start getting the, I guess they're called like tabs or prongs or whatever in here that are plastic, that are holding this top cover on. Once you get one, then the others are kind of easy, and then just kind of go around the controller. Don't try and bend it too much, otherwise you'll crack it in a couple places, right? But then that comes off fairly easily. And I did break one of my tabs as well, so I'll show you that a little bit later. I didn't even notice it at this point that I had broken it. The first thing that I do for the bumpers is I'm taking out, there's little plastic pieces and right in here, so you need like a tweezer or something, but basically that's where the actual button is. So the bumpers kind of are like a little lever that push down on, that button there. And so that's where you're having problems. So if you do notice like gunk and grime and stuff in here, yeah, so you can kind of see that that's where the button's actually pressing there in the video here. But like, if you've got like a tiny vacuum attachment, or maybe even some can air or something, like you can like blow any gunk or dust or anything out of there, like that's always a good idea too. What I'm doing here is I'm using rubbing alcohol basically, and get yourself a Q-tip, and you're just going to kind of go as deep in around where these buttons are as possible. I literally was just like blowing on my controller right there. So yeah, you can kind of see me doing it down here at the bottom of the video. And then I moved it up because I was like, oh yeah, I'm not in the camera view. But yeah, get it in there as best you can. Obviously don't use too much liquid, because liquid is generally bad for electronics, right? So just be careful how much you use. But yeah, get it in there. Use the Q-tip to try and kind of clean as much off as you can without being too forceful. Right? That's just what I did. And then you want to push the buttons a whole bunch as that alcohol kind of dries. I feel like that helps out a little bit with kind of just getting it, in there and working, right? I don't know. Like, it's just, this is what I did and it worked for me, right? So, and then I went for like good measure. I don't like taking my controller apart very often, so I'm like, I'm gonna do a little bit more after I gave that a minute to kind of dry off, and just like, get it in there, twist it, see what gunk you can get off if there is any, because generally that's the problem. And then yeah, push the buttons again a whole bunch. You can put these plastic pieces that we took out initially, you can put them back in. I actually ended up just leaving them out. I feel like I wasn't, I don't really know if anybody knows what their functionality is, like what they, why, but I have seen people suggest trying to like fold them like this in like half, like part of it, and then putting it back in like that to kind of give a little bit more, one side or the other, to kind of give it a little bit more to press on against the button. So you can experiment there as well. And then what happened to me was I did break one of the tabs on the top piece, right? So you can kind of see it right here. It's missing, right? So there's kind of 3 or 4 down each side, and I broke this top one. And actually when I put it back together, I didn't even notice that I had busted it, but my controller had like a rattle, and I was like, oh no, something busted in there. And I would have just left it, but it fell down into the controller far enough to where it was affecting one of the triggers, and I wasn't able to pull one of the triggers properly. So, first step basically is if you do notice one of those pieces falling in, just try and shake it out, right? So like, common sense, right? But what happened with mine was it fell in right where the thumbstick is. So what I had to do was kind of angle the thumbstick like this, and then do some dumping, right? And shaking it out, and then it finally did fall out when I did that. So just something to look out for. But if you break 1 or 2 of those tabs, I don't even think you'll notice once you put it back together, right? So I did not, and yeah. So don't be fearful about breaking your controller. It's really not that bad, especially if you're out of warranty anyway, right? Like, whatever, like, you're gonna get some more life out of it, right? So but I think that's probably the, like, as long as something's not actually busted, as long as something's not really broken with the bumpers, this should fix any bumper issues for most people, I would say, right? So but yeah, and then final step, obviously, just clip it back together. And actually, like, I was quite surprised at how well it went back together. I was expecting it to not feel as good, but I almost can't even tell that I had taken it apart, along with, aside from like a few scratches where I initially was shoving the screwdriver in there to try and pop the cover off, right? So but yeah, put everything back together. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know you guys, most of my followers are here for, my like World of Warships and gaming videos, but alas, I was like, other people probably have this problem too, right? So yeah, there it is. Thanks for watching. See you next time.